Before you get started, Judy, your meeting is live. It's also being recorded. So those of you who are going to speak, please speak into the microphone.
Thank you for
All right?
reminding me.
Thank
Yeah.
you.
And
Ensure that the green light is on before speaking. And as soon as you stop, you can release that. Thank you.
Thank you, Alton. And so it was 3:01 and we're calling this meeting to order. Thank you. So the first order of business is public comment. We have one member of the public here who has no comment. So we are going to move right on. Delete. Right on to the approval of the minutes from March 3rd. Can I hear a motion to approve? One motion, I'll give you the second. Okay, so Sosha, let's see, Sosha, I better keep track of this. Okay. And, all right. So let's, moving on. So discussion of the minutes. Were there anything that anybody wanted to change or?
Couldn't find
Okay.
Social couldn't find it.
Okay. So all in favor of approving the minutes for March 3rd, say aye. Aye. Any opposed? All approved. Motion carries. Second, isn't that motion second and carry unanimous, MSCU, right? Okay, update from the town council is next on our agenda. I wanted to mention a couple of things. I did reach out to the town council about the Coastal Resources Management Council board that is now being considered in the Rhode Island State Legislature, and try to encourage them to take sort of the next step. They did write a letter when it was being considered, when the board changes to the board were being considered. They wrote a very strong letter from the town. And so I spoke to both Keith and Billy McComb, and then they said they're going to follow up, possibly with the town lobbyists. I don't know what their next steps are, but they're following up on that. That does impact us. You know, the decisions of CRMC and the composition of the board does peripherally and in some ways directly impact us. Both Ann and I attended the budget meeting for the town of New Shoreham. And right now we have, in addition to our annual $2,000, we have $50,000 to be used to hire somebody to be our coastal resilience, climate resilience, whatever they're going to call it, officer. And we have $50,000 from Orsted for 5 years. And so we can actually get somebody in here. We can, start them part-time, see how it works out, however the town wants to do it. But this is the town's, that's really good news for us now. Of course, the budget hasn't passed, so please make sure that you attend the budget meeting in May, I think it is. Okay. Yes. Yeah, if you could look that up, that'd be great. Thank you. And the last thing I wanted to mention from the town council that is there's something called a blue bond. And so Ann and I have been looking into, what is it? Is there a role? Right now, it wasn't very clear that there's a role for us in the blue bond, but we want to keep an eye on it. It's just how they write the legislature for it, how they write the words to see if it's going to be relevant to us. But you kind of get the idea. It's in Massachusetts, they have a green bond, which they renew about every 5 years, although it's been 8 years since they've done it because of COVID. But they're reissuing their green bond, and they're directly, the governor has said directly that it's for coastal resilience. Some of it's for coastal and climate resilience projects. And what is really good news for them, and hopefully for us, if we follow suit, is that they're getting a whole lot more activity in Western Massachusetts on climate resilience than they've had in the past. Usually most of the people that applied or coastal. And now they've had such big flooding events in Western Massachusetts recently that but anyway, Massachusetts views that as really good news. And we're hoping that Rhode Island continues to follow suit. Go ahead. Yes, Lisa.
I just need to go back to that $50,000.
Yes.
Is that guaranteed from Orsted for 5 years?
That's my understanding, yes.
So it's going into the town budget, but it's not going to be taxpayer money for a little while?
Correct.
Okay, so.
That's correct.
Okay.
The only thing
Be
that's,
clear. on
yes,
that.
the only thing that's taxpayer money is the $2,000 that I have never spent, but Ann is determined to spend it. They're putting a lot of pressure on there. I just wanted it to be in the budget so I knew which meetings to show up at. Because my first year, I had to attend every single one to make, because I didn't know where I fit. And because it wasn't a line item in the budget. Right. So our first couple of years, we got into that, we spent getting into the budget. Oh, yes.
That $50,000, is that commensurate with people in this type of position?
Well, okay, so $50,000 isn't enough for a full-time person. No, it would have to be part-time. Yeah. Yeah, I mean, if you include like overheads and all the other stuff that I don't even know what they are in the town. Yeah, that it ends up being a lot less than that.
Okay. I wondered if
Yes.
starter salary, if it is commensurate, if there was, market research done. And so, but to Lisa's point, if Orsted is giving the money, then we don't necessarily need to worry that it will pass at the budget meeting. It's that $2,000 line item, or?
It's the town, we're all voting on how the town spends all of the money wherever it came from. Orsted didn't specify us, they specified resilience. So, yeah, we lobbied for it. And so, yeah, we do need to be there in case there's questions about it. Yeah.
Just a quick question. Is Nora going to be using this fiscal year money for printing? The Citizens Guide?
Yeah, so the plan that we've talked about with Anne is hopefully getting this kind of through town council and chatting with them about possibly printing in June. So yes, that would be the goal, would be using this year's town budget or this year's $2,000 to print the guide.
Super.
Okay, that's what I have from the town council. That's a lot compared to normal. Allison, are you with us? Yes. Is there any update from you?
Is she?
Are you there? Oh, she's, I know, and we can't hear her. Is there something on our end? There we go.
Okay,
There you
thank
go.
you. Hi, everyone. I just need to be unmuted. Yeah, I don't have any, no major updates. I just checked in with the state, DEM, the Chief Resiliency Officer on the NIFWIF, the new grant that the town was awarded. So we're still awaiting the subrecipient contract, in order to get those funds, in that next phase moving along. So for now, it's just grant reporting requirements and things like that. But I'm looking forward to hearing how last week's public meeting went, the April 2nd meeting on the pavilion. So just wanted to listen in on your report on that, Judy. Thank you.
Terrific, thank you.
Quick question. How are you feeling, Allison? Are you-
It's been a long, I'm still not walking, so 7 weeks. But anyway, starting PT and hopefully I'll get there in another few weeks.
So sorry to hear that.
Yeah, thank you.
We're thinking about you.
Thanks.
Allison, are you on crutches?
Yes.
I spent 9 months on crutches, and I
Wow.
recommend they can really jam your back. The
Mhm.
type with the hands that you grab the hands and the cuffs on your forearms help with the back strain of the traditional crutches.
Okay, thank you.
Good to know. Insider tip, that's right. Okay. Nora, update from the Climate Resilience Coordinator.
Hi, everyone.
Good to see everyone. I don't have too many updates right now, actually. Kind of one major one is that Amy Lane was able to connect with Tom Rissom, and he's actually going to support and help with the Best Sensor program. And so I just connected him with Saul Cooper Doc of Brown, and so really hoping to kind of get that coordinated and organized in the next couple of weeks. So that's kind of a bit of a pause, but Amy connected me to Tom, and so Tom is now on it. So I think we're kind of moving forward in that direction. And another kind of thing, just the Living Shoreline application was submitted. And so just kind of wanted to update everyone on that. And then the last thing is this guide is my next update, or my next version of the guide is right here. It's very, you can't see it too well in the copy because it is a little bit smaller than it will be when it's actually printed out. But I'm still definitely looking for feedback on that. As you can see, kind of the first couple of pages are definitely some big changes from when I presented it now 2 months ago. But I think really going to lean on the public engagement group for sure in the next couple of weeks to try to put even more things together on this. And so really, I broke it down a little bit more in my discussion 2 months ago about this, but really just kind of trying to continue to build it. One new thing that I've thought about is really trying to include other people from the town that aren't just the Coastal Resilience Committee or the Conservation Commission. And so kind of thinking about places where we could have maybe Jen Brady, building official, kind of give a comment or a hint or a, what would you like the public to know kind of thing. And maybe the same from water company and wastewater and maybe Wayne Pinkham, stuff like that, to kind of try to infiltrate even more of this being a full town effort. And so definitely want to, any ideas that you may have, there's definitely still a lot of open space to kind of plug things in. And so kind of something that I've been slowly trying to reorganize and work through the last couple of weeks. So they're here right now. I can also send you the online version if people are better, want to look online, because you can kind of see it a little bit, zoom in a little bit more. And then Anne and actually Laurel was able to chat with the printer for the town. And I have the kind of general idea of the estimate on what it would cost. And so if we wanted to get 250 copies of this, it would actually be under $700. And so that's kind of just her rough estimate, but kind of thinking that that would be maybe a good start once this gets through, once we kind of, so my goal would be to kind of have a more final draft or more final copy by next meeting. So by the beginning of May, and so that then we could share with the town in May and then get to printing.
And just a quick reminder, aren't we going to be handing those out at the building department or not?
That's the goal eventually. Yeah. Once they're.
I think that's so
Yeah.
great because we collect things on shelves and they just collect dust.
Yeah, I think there could be a lot of different uses for it, whether they were handed out at something like not this Earth Day, but next Earth Days or future CRC engagement
Yes.
meetings,
Yeah.
but also having them certainly for the town to kind of just, give a nice handout. I think really a lot of this is going to be a connector kind of thing, right, to different things. And that's kind of why I've really thought about the resources and additional information and maybe even expanding that. Because I think, well, there's a lot of good information to be here. It's only 16-page little. So I think the connections and QR codes and stuff like that is really my goal as well. And then my last thought on that is kind of having a very online version that has live links that you could actually, because there's a lot of these things that linked to, or you could Google, but if you actually could go someplace and live click on it. So that's kind of my goal.
That's great.
Overall, but yeah, definitely still working on kind of putting all the pieces together. And again, if you feel like you don't see something that you think would be really helpful for homeowners and people to know, then certainly let me know. Definitely accepting feedback written on this.
Great.
Drop it off the TNC or find me somewhere or truly however. And I know I'm still collecting it from the Conservation Commission as well. So
Right.
really still trying to pull everything together, but that's where we're at now.
Cool. This is really exciting. How big is the printing budget? I'm just wondering if we could think about distributing them at the hardware store or other sites.
Well, so that would be like, again, the budget of the $2,000. So,
Uh-huh.
I mean, I think we could think about making more if we wanted to. And
Uh-huh.
it's just a matter of,
Okay.
figuring it out. Kind of the 250 is where we settled on of like, okay, initially that might be good. But again, that's definitely not set in stone. So we could talk about that further as well.
And Nora, thanks for doing that. It's great. I look forward to looking at it and making some comments. So great. It must have been fun. will it also be available, like if you bump into somebody on the street and say, oh yeah, you didn't get that packet, or we're out of them, or we're not printing more? Can I just tell them, can any of us
Yeah.
tell them just to go to the town website?
Yeah, I think so.
there?
I think that would definitely make sense that it would be on the town website too, and then we could also make a QR code that could
Yeah.
kind of take you directly to
To it.
the document that then could link out to other things.
To
So
other-
really
yeah,
just
yeah,
kind of a
because
tool
there's
to-
so, for people who just want the basics, that's great. And
Yeah.
then there are people who always just, want to do a big deep dive.
Yes, exactly. And there's actually some really great handbooks that already exist. Rhode Island doesn't
Mm.
have one, but Judy had kind of shared this this Delaware one. And then actually Massachusetts has a really nice one as well. So
And I
those are
think
kind of-
Nantucket had a good one too.
Yeah.
Yeah, and
Yes, we
Hawaii
have.
has one. I mean,
Mhm.
many of the Sea Grant programs, this is, they created these for their state. That was,
Mhm.
that, they've been doing this for
Years.
decades,
Yeah,
yeah,
actually, yeah.
Yeah. So
Probably,
Eh, We just don't have one in Rhode Island.
Yes.
yes, but yeah.
Out of
Yeah.
curiosity, do you guys use letters to the editor in the Block Island Times where you could announce a resource like this and include the URL to let people, and then they can just go and print out a PDF or something?
That's a great idea. Yeah.
Because that's free and
Mm-hmm.
everyone sees it ideally.
And it covers a lot of ground for
Mhm.
people who might not pick it up otherwise. And ask Renee, she's right there.
So wait a second. Does not fall under press release because in a letter to the editor, you write from your personal viewpoint.
No, but you can write, you can't click on it. Right, right, right. You can't click on it yet. You can write it and someone else can look it up. Yeah, yeah.
The letters to the editor are
Oh, good to know.
But isn't this a press release item more than a letter to the editor? Because a letter to the editor gives a personal point of view, where this is not a personal point of view.
Mhm.
But
But-
letters to the editor all the time from groups to the community, and it could be something like, hey, we've been working on this for quite a while,
Mm.
based on recent storms,
Right,
etc.
why not?
This is a
Right.
resource, and, we all have, this is a learning curve, we're all on together. something like
Mhm,
that.
mhm.
So turn the
Yeah,
I into a
inviting
we.
it.
Yeah.
Mm. Sure.
Would a letter to the editor include a QR code?
She just said no, but you can put in the web address.
No, well, but.
Oh, it can. Oh, she says yes, a QR code, yes.
Yeah.
That's great. Yeah, that's great, which is because it's different than a link. Oh, yeah. Good. Thank you. Good questions. All right, I'm going to declare no report for an update from the BI CRC chair and vice chair so that we can just keep right on moving. And our next event, our next item is the follow-up from the April 2nd Beach Pavilion Community Engagement event. So that was last Thursday. On the table up here are 3 piles of comments. One with the yellow highlights on it are the three breakout groups. And the yellow highlights are items that Anne thought the Coastal Resilience Committee might be willing to address, that they look like action items for the CRC. The one, Renee, just to the left of that is from,
Renee.
yeah, the one just to the left of that, that's the feedback. That one is from Earth Day last year, similar questions. And then the one to the left of that is something that came in from the event. It was notes taken by somebody else that they sent in anonymously, so to speak. So anyway, and the first 2 I sent out just a short time ago to all of you. So you have electronic copies of those. The notes, the anonymous notes, I don't remember. I thought those were sent to everybody already, but. Oh, those are from you. They're not anonymous. Oh, they're Nora's notes. Did you send them to everybody or just?
I think Anne may have put, because I see some of them comments.
Oh, so they're
so I
in
think
there.
They might be within. all
Oh,
of
good.
them.
Oh, good. So you don't need that separate one. That should,
Anonymous,
everyone,
though.
good. Anonymous. It was not anonymous to me. Okay. I did want to relate to you some feedback that Anne has provided. First of all, she felt that the negative feedback on the survey was significant enough that it warrants either not moving forward with it or redesigning it. She's very concerned about doing more harm with the survey and feels like that could happen if we continue to push it. So we should probably relook at the survey and how much we want to push that on a existing populace that to whom we've exposed it so far.
Is that a specific criticism of some part of it, or just the whole thing in general?
Well, so she's particularly concerned about the comments about collecting more data about actual use of the pavilion, because as many of the participants highlighted, the beach pavilion is mostly used by visitors, ranging from day trippers to hotel guests, boaters, and house renters. And we're not reaching any of those groups right now with the way we're disseminating this survey. Of course, our intention was to keep pushing this out so that we did get all these groups. But the open-ended questions she thought were still really relevant to the people who live here. But all the feedback about pavilion use seemed to be getting under people's skin because either they don't use it or I don't know. Anyway, I'm just relating what she wrote here. But she would really like to have us look at that survey and especially if we're going to do something at the pavilion this summer, we want to make sure that we're targeting the right people with the right questions. And anyway, just to throw that out there as an opening salvo.
What was the process of designing the survey?
Yeah, the survey was designed by GZA, the consultants, and there were a bunch of us that reviewed it and thought it was fine. It's, but I could see where it was confusing because it was very open-ended. Yeah. And like, for example, you sent me yours. Did you go back online and redo it where it goes into the system? Or, okay, do you want to do that or do you want me to do it for you? Okay, good. Yeah, yeah, because what I had sent to you was for review. So, and so you got it for review, but you actually did the survey. Yeah. Yeah, that's all right. I mean, but that's okay because I got review from other people. Yeah. Thank you for going back and taking the survey because then it's in a Google form and all of the data of your stuff will get incorporated with everybody else's. I'm glad you brought that up because I wanted to make sure I told you that.
So Judy, is the general idea that if we found an effective way for reaching visitors, it would be fine?
Yes.
Okay,
Yes.
So the answer then is not to cut it off at April the 30th, which was never, I think, a good idea because.
Well, it was just the whole idea with that was to create a cutoff where we could then analyze the data. And it wasn't just, stuff coming in, piddling.
I guess it's useful to get the data from the people who actually are here and almost separate that from the visitors' data.
Yeah, it's actually really interesting.
The town is going to be responsible,
of course,
regardless of what the visitors think. Just not for quoting Renee. So with a QR code sort of plastered around the beach house in the summer, that would be a solution to the whole.
Yes.
That's the bottom line.
Yes, go ahead, Lisa.
This may seem like a really dumb question, but if I were on vacation or if I were just visiting the beach house, the last thing I'd be thinking about doing was making out a survey. I don't think that is really a target audience for survey work. And I think that the survey as it stands is okay. You're never gonna have one that's gonna please everybody, ever.
Right.
So,
Mhm.
but I can't even imagine the hordes of people coming through there looking, oh, yes, let's go down and let's, get a popsicle and go down and do the survey.
Well-
That's not gonna happen.
Well, so that's a reason to have like a multi-phased or a multiple approach.
Visitor survey,
yeah.
maybe, or visitors, something, a suggestion box at the.
Yeah.
at the-
Yeah, okay, okay, Nora's dying to answer.
I hear you, Lisa, but on the other hand, when I travel, I'm a survey geek. I love doing that. And there's so many people that go there that feel connected to it. To me, maybe to hear your point, maybe there's a better way to reach them. But like if I'm traveling, I'm staying in a hotel and they say, you left 2 nights ago, would you give us a survey about your experience? I always do those surveys and leave a comment, but it sort of connects me to the place in a way that feels like I'm helping the next person in a way. So I think, I hear what you're saying, but I do think there are people who are survey geeks like me and we'll do them.
Yeah.
But there are the other ways too.
No, my quick comment was I just think I was talking about this with my parents after the event, and I just think it's like one of those. It's like it would almost be ideal to have one of those as you exit a public bathroom. Sometimes it was like, how was this experience? But it could be like, what did you do in the beach house? Did you change? Did you get food? I don't know. It's just like
that's
just a
interesting.
really rudimentary way to collect data. But maybe then you could create some visitors version of the survey that you could have maybe like an iPad or some sort of like little thing on this wall in the beach house, just as a way to try to avoid people who might scan the QR code, but then notice it's 20 questions. So they're not going to
Yeah.
But how do you get a quicker answer? And I think part of that is also starting to try to think about like, can we even get the data on how many hot dogs are served over the course of the summer, which is what I suggested last summer. But I just think that would be even interesting to know just the kind of really rudimentary parts of the usage by visitors.
Yeah, I'm thinking along the same wavelength, which is maybe just like a piece of paper on the inside of the toilet stall saying, do you love this pavilion? Could it be better? QR code. And then something by the snack bar while you're waiting in line. And then I don't know for the boating community, there's so many regulars, and really only regulars are even going to consider doing this. I'm the opposite of you. I despise surveys. And, but does the harbor master communicate with boaters via email, or like do the marinas communicate with the boaters via email ever? I'm wondering if they do, if when you come in and you dock or,
Good point. Good point.
The harbor's employee just left, but they always get texted when boaters come in.
uh-huh.
So it's that communication about getting moorings, and usually there's a little back and forth.
Yeah, so if you're a regular boater and you use the beach every year, maybe something could be sent in the first text when you arrive or when you leave, or
And if I could just make a comment, this is upon reflection. Like I said, I eat, sleep, and drink this stuff too much. I think we missed an opportunity, myself, and I blame myself included. I think we are mismessaging. We are sending the wrong message by having people look at 3 designs of the pavilion. It's my impression that people walked away with that we were essentially saying, hey, as soon as we have the money and the plan is in place and we have surveyed enough people's opinions and we've reached some consensus, we're going to build this building.
At all.
You didn't get that?
No.
Nor am I getting out in the street.
Yeah, no, I'm not getting that at all. I think that I felt, well, probably because I was in the group. I was like, well, that's not true, but.
So let me put it in a form of a question.
Yeah.
Are we saying that when this pavilion dies because of the next storm, that's when we will start activating whatever plans came out of these discussions? Or are we saying, let's hold on to this pavilion until it dies and do some interim mitigation in the meantime?
I think everything's on the table. That's what we're trying to assess. And in the meantime, we're not doing anything because A, we have no money, and B, we have no plan. And if you have no plan and the building gets taken out, we're doomed. You've got to have a plan. So that's the thing, is to have a plan in place so that all of this dirty work has been done, and then they can do a charrette or whatever they want to do for what the final design is. But what the community wants to do, but we can get something to a pretty advanced percentage of design so that it would qualify as a shovel-ready project, so that when the building does eventually gets damaged, at least, we have some solutions available to them. I think that's all we're doing. We're not saying when this happens, then something else will happen. We're just trying to get the community thinking about this so that we can get something in place for the eventual demise of the pavilion. And this, we're doing it because it was identified as a priority for the town, and we work for the town. That's why a lot of people were like, why the pavilion? You got to go back and watch that town meeting. You know?
So the one thing I think that perhaps we sort of failed to do was stress that all the thinking about the pavilion is really being driven by the need to rebuild the dune. That is what we're desperately trying to do, is protect the road. Okay. And the only way of rebuilding the dune is to do something with the pavilion.
I thought that the meeting opened up with that.
Yeah.
I was kind of happy about that, frankly.
Okay.
See, isn't it funny how you all perceive differently?
Yeah, we all hear different things, but I agree with you, Nigel. It was my hope that people would hear what the introduction was saying, so it was clear why we were there that day to discuss it. But people, to Sasha's point, people are going to hear what they hear. But I think people in general got the essence of what this was about, to have a discussion, to sort of think of that place. I mean, I would agree with you that they were so, in general, our small group in the other room was so focused, as we asked them to be, on the building, that we didn't have the whole discussion about the site. But I think that's just a part of the process. I too was worried about that, Nigel, like, wow, are people even realizing we're trying to keep the island in one piece? But I think that just, it was so much focus on the buildings that sort of the next discussion could be more about the whole site, including on the west side of the Corneck Road, the marsh migration project where you brought the students from URI and the professor from URI, and then also just the sheer energy of the ocean on the other side, using that ridiculous sandwich metaphor I came up with, but on the other side where the ocean's coming in, and thinking of what is the professor's name? Greeley.
Annette
Greeley, thank you.
Really, yeah.
Greeley. So I sort of, as a visual person, I sort of imagine this movie of all of these parts put together as a presentation for the community somehow next time when we have an opportunity to meet with the community and talk about the building or any other part of that site, so that it all comes together as a site, because
Or as a story.
Yeah, as a story. And then, someone in our group said, are we talking about the pavilion? Why don't we talk about maybe we need a bridge between
Yeah.
So it did bring some people to a different kind of discussion, focused not on the building and more on the site. But just to say, I hear you. It was interesting.
So that's a really good segue to one of the other things that Anne said, that that we need to put more energy into sharing the vulnerability assessment, especially like on Earth Day, to talk about the vulnerability assessment, to help people understand that what we're doing is addressing a vulnerability in the gap in the dunes, and that the pavilion is what we do with the pavilion is a potential solution to the problem of having that gap in the dunes. But she really thought that going back to the vulnerability analysis might be a really good way to help get people on board, or to understand why we're doing this.
Yeah, I agree absolutely. And I think in a way, one of the mistakes that Mike Gardner sort of made early was talking too much about the parking lot. I mean, the parking
Yes.
lot is such a sort of a side issue. I mean, it's sort of an important issue, but it's really not the central issue. You know, it's really part of a possible solution.
I think that was him trying to tie his two presentations together because it was such a jump discontinuity from one to the next.
And,
Yeah.
and you know, if you review vulnerabilities, I wrote down somewhere in my notes, we also need to review for the people what was recommended at the time in 2017 when we had this Corneck Road study, so that they can see the progression over time as to what we've been told over all these years. Do you remember the 2017 study?
Very well.
Yeah, yeah.
Right?
Oh, yeah.
So that'll help the public put everything into a perspective instead of giving it to them piecemeals.
Yeah, I-
That global overview of where we been, where we are, and like
In that handout that we made out, that Anne really pulled that whole story together, that was really helpful. So you could put it with that color poster, if you will, that said your pavilion, your voice, whatever our statement was there. And that next piece I thought was very good that she put together, because it did show that
The
history in
history.
just a few short paragraphs. I read that over myself a number of times, like, oh yeah, just to remember what
Yeah.
Socha's talking about, to have that camera ready. And, you know, Allison's with us today. Allison knows about that history
Yes.
of getting that camera ready, that shovel ready project for the road if Sandy were to happen again, because post Sandy, we didn't have anything ready, so they could only rebuild it as it existed before.
Mhm.
They couldn't do anything different or new. But I think what you said, Judy, really nailed it, was that what we do to the pavilion is a potential solution to the dunes. It's just a perfect way to say it, because it invites people to think about that whole site.
But do keep in mind that there are people who don't think the dunes are important, period.
Right, that's our job to educate them, to
Right.
help them understand why they are.
Mhm.
I mean, is that really an issue?
No.
I'm sorry?
There really are people who don't think the dunes are important.
Mm-hmm.
I mean,
I can't mention names because that wouldn't be nice, but if you go back in history, there was a time when we had no dunes. And so the conclusion was, well, now we do have them. Why would it matter if they don't fully protect us? 'Cause
I have to tell this story over and over and over again. They weren't there because they were taken out in Hurricane Carol. And when they, now we're talking to my generation here, and sure enough, they were really small, and that's because they did their job. The wave energy was exhausted on the dunes, and whatever damage it did to the road in 54, which I have no idea about, but it was at least less than would have happened if the dunes were flat already. But yeah, that was the dunes doing their job, and people, you know, that it wasn't an original position.
It just reminds us in the community outreach, we've been talking about using the pavilion as that information hub. So maybe we can sort of pull some of that together with you and our group, so we can put some images together that could be in that building. You know, to Lisa's point, yeah, there are people who don't want to do survey, thank you.
Mhm.
But there are people who we could really capture and educate and use that building itself as an opportunity to inform people in different ways, you know, with images or written text
We're gonna
or
explore that.
visuals and stuff like
Mhm.
that.
Yeah, I just want to say, like, there is currently right now in the beach house or in the beach pavilion, there is like a little nature, not little, it's Nature Conservancy poster about the dunes and the ecosystem. But I think making an updated version, it's very old. It's probably at least 40 years old. I think making an updated version of that, to your point, that focuses less on any changes or possible changes, but just more about what is this ecosystem that includes the road, that includes the marsh on the other side, and what organisms and animals and plant. Like, I think broadening it to the importance of this area and the importance of the dune before even having any beach, you know, pavilion movement discussion, you know, as just an educational tool.
Um, hmm. To Anne's point about wanting to use up the $2,000, I'm wondering if there might be value to having an event at the beach pavilion, some sort of gathering midsummer where people, we can talk about the origin of this and show these images and explain Carol and how we got here and the value of dunes, but lure people in with some hors d'oeuvres and refreshments and really make it if we can, on a nice summer night, a conversation topic. We have budget we need to use, if I'm understanding that correctly. I don't know.
I like it.
Right. Just before Sarah said that, I was about to say that maybe the Nature Conservancy or something should have one of their weekly programs down there and, pull either the adults or the younger kids in, to describe the ecosystem and do a little bit of beach cleanup and, but keep bringing people down every week, even because I know, all the bird banding, the marsh mucking, all of that kind of stuff is huge and people are looking for different things to do.
Yeah, so that's kind of connects to what we've been talking about a little bit of like a resilience walk, and that maybe like have a resilience walk, once monthly or even every other week, something like twice monthly throughout the summer that could include, I think probably, maybe start in town, we could walk through Bridgegate Square, but basically walk up to the beach pavilion and then we could walk on the marsh side. Like I think you could include it as part, a part of a larger resilience walk, but I think it would create I went on a resilience walk in Warren and it was just really interesting because there was leaders, but then people came and just shared their ideas, shared their thoughts, shared what they knew or like, so I just think it was a really nice community event of like bringing people together to just low stakes talk about it. And I think to both of those ideas, like I think creating more low stakes opportunity to just start to socialize these concepts and these ideas even more. Yeah.
It just leads to bigger and better things. I envision an interactive science display at the pavilion where the children are drawn in as well,
Lots of ideas. Great ideas. This is terrific, you guys. Let's see, in terms of next steps, we've got the engagement group, the community engagement group, looking at what are your next steps?
I think our next step is
Our
next step as a group is to digest the feedback so that we can then formulate a response of sorts. Initially, I recommend what Mary recommended, and is to acknowledge to the public, thank them for their participation. And so that's the least we can do before the Earth Day. And if for no other reason, it's a courtesy. So yeah, and ultimately, of course, our job will be to create as many educational opportunities and community engagement as possible. But first, we have to digest the feedback.
Yeah, I think I agree with you that what I was talking to you about earlier in my notes here to our group was to thank everyone who joined, for coming and being at that meeting, because that's a lot. People make that contribution and that effort to come, and everybody's working all the time. It's not easy. So before we digest it, it's not about us. I think it's important to say, thanks for coming to, bring this dialogue and creative ideas and questions. That was really important. Like, something like, here's what we heard from you. We're not there yet to sort of
Right.
tell them the results of the feedback.
Right.
We're just to say, thanks for coming.
Thank you for coming.
And look for that feedback. We're going to give it to you. And by the way,
Yeah.
we have another event April 25th. We don't want to wait till after April 25th
Right.
to make those comments.
I couldn't agree more.
I know that either Ann or I'd be happy to push something out.
Okay.
Yeah, to thank the public, but can you guys help us put some together? And then,
Definitely.
yeah,
Yeah. Thanks.
yeah. The other thing I heard was that we need to do something in the evening so that folks who work during the day can attend.
Yeah, I heard that too.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, we want to have a variety of times, a variety of locations, appeal to a variety of ages. And yeah, I think that's all really good feedback. Thank
And
you.
Just to jump on Nora's work here to say the variety of ages, Nora's working with Roberta on opportunities to involve the kids at school. So hoping to develop that, through the summer too.
Okay. Oh, yes, please.
I don't know whether you thank people on Bib but maybe that's another opportunity for a letter to the editor about the April 2nd event and then pushing the Leah Hill event.
Yeah, definitely.
Thank you. That's a good idea.
That's a good idea. Yes. I'm just going to keep moving through the agenda because we've got a lot to cover. We've talked a lot about the survey. We talked about it closing on the 30th. I still want to do that so that we have a capture. We can always add more. We can always reissue and people will continue to take it, even if it says it's over on April 30th. That's just for GZA to capture, to close it and do a capture. And then we can reopen it.
And it was my feeling that, yes, you need a survey, but you also need to check for understanding.
Yes.
Call it what you like, but
Yes, you need
you need a space for checking for understanding. In other words, did I reach my audience? Are we reaching our audience? How are they interpreting what we're offering? What is it they understand or what don't they understand? Checking for understanding. You can teach something, but you cannot force somebody to learn.
Yeah, I hear you. Judy, where do we direct people to find the survey? Excuse me.
I can resend the email, but I can send the link. It's on the QR code. It's on Protect More Neck.
Thanks.
Here.
Thanks.
Yeah.
Protect.
Is it on the back of that one? There you go. You can have that.
Protect. Great. Thanks. I have people asking for that.
Oh, good. Yeah. Excellent. Yeah, so let me take that as an action item. Reissue the survey email. I sent it to the BI bulletin board.
Oh, great.
So it has, and it's included the QR code, the direct link, and the link to Protect BI.
And Protect Core Neck.
Or Protect Core Neck Road, yeah, sorry. That would have been made a bad mistake.
I also posted it on my Facebook page.
Oh, nice.
And they're both public.
Perfect. I always think of you in that Facebook page, like so.
The great disseminator.
So what did you do?
I said I posted it on my Facebook page and in that post simultaneously on my Instagram, and both of those are public pages. So
Did anyone, what do you think about posting on the I Love Block Island pages and stuff? Yeah. So just to clarify, even though we might be revising the survey, we are still pushing it out as much as possible until April 30th.
Well, that's a really good question because of, it is what I agree with Lisa. It is what it is, and nobody's going to like everything. And we've already started it. Let's finish what we started. I mean, let's go to April 30th, and feel free to share it. If somebody had an idea of sending it out with the tax roll, with the tax bills, great. Is somebody willing to talk to the finance office and make that happen? Or is that gonna come to us, me and Ann? Yeah.
Sure.
Yeah. Okay. Do you want to ask them, Mary?
Sure.
Thank you.
Another option might be, I used to do this with, when I was updating the fire numbers with, and directions to houses, when I worked for the police department, but, the power company was always really good about letting us put stuff in with the power bills also.
You want me to ask them too?
Sure.
Yeah.
Oh, man, yeah. Well, and that's the challenge is that you know, a lot of people get them electronically, the power bill. Yeah,
We must get it all paper.
you must, yeah, I get them still in paper.
I just take the money out of my bank account.
I didn't know there was another option.
I didn't either. It's all online, yeah, but I still get paper. You don't get paper?
No.
Oh, I'm glad I get paper.
Wow.
Because online, it's too hard to see what my solar is. But a paper, it just lays it right out for me. I like it.
want to know.
Okay, let's, moving on. Thank you. Mary, I'll follow up with you on that, okay? And, cause I don't, yeah,
Just do it for me?
yes. Nice. I was trying to punt. Okay, let's go into the working groups and points of contact. Let's power through these. Public information and community engagement. Tell us about Leah Hill. Please, she's coming on the 25th.
She's coming on the 25th as planned. Everything's in order. There were a few questions that she had today in an email, just basically about how we can separate out some of the expenses for her needs for her town billing situation. So I didn't ask Anne if she had looked at that because I know she's away, but I'll ask her later tonight. I think everything's pretty much in order. The issue I know that we're having at the moment, it's not a big issue. I think we worked it out. Bimmy is under construction and it's a little longer construction project than they anticipated. So I spoke to our group, to Byra, who's hosting for us. We're really grateful for Byra on this. The expenses and the work that they're doing to provide the space and everyone else who's been involved too, Nora and Sarah and Joe and Anne, and there are others I'm sure I might be forgetting, apologize. The Bimmy situation is that they pulled out the bar, which they intended to do and thought they were just gonna put in a new flooring, but they found a lot more rot than they expected. So I went down there last week and talked to Doug and he said he's gonna set it up in such a way where that bar area is sort of boxed off, if you
Right.
will. So it won't be noticed by anyone. It won't affect how many people we can put in the room.
Oh, excellent.
He was ready to tear up the rug and have a new rug for us by the time we were there. But because of this delay in construction due to unknown decay, he will be leaving the old rug and patch up the small area. It's like 6 feet by 10 feet. And he'll put the existing rug back down. And we'll still be able to put just as many chairs as we expected, no other issues. And we've united Joe, who wanted a little dress rehearsal for audio, with, refresh my memory, with Erin, thank you, who is back on the island now. So I think Joe and Erin have spoken and worked out the kinks with that audio. So that's moving along and
Thank you.
all the questions have been given to Leah. So she knows generally what the questions she'll be getting. Is there anything else I'm forgetting, Sarah or Nora, about her questions or anything else?
No, I don't think so, but is Keith going to come or someone from town council? Because it does seem in an introductory capacity, because I think that that's important, showing that leadership is invested in this. And it
Yeah,
might
good
be
question.
nice to invite him.
Yeah, we did talk about a list of people that needed to be invited. I think that was in our original discussions that we had.
Mhm.
I'll put that out to the group.
Yeah, and maybe we could invite him to say a few words,
Yep.
just state what a priority this is, this conversation.
Yeah, okay.
And I talked to Roberta again today about the kids wanting to be involved. And so she's going to get a kind of head count and get a better idea of
Great.
how many kids, but that they'd be interested to kind of come, listen, and then
Yeah.
help by like passing out cards that could have notes, questions on them or notes, things like that.
Huh.
As just a touch point too. And maybe
Yeah.
could be like, oh, and we have kids from Lock Island School, and they could wave or something just to really.
Yeah, to help out.
Yeah.
Yeah. Collecting those cards. So that's moving along.
Great news. Thank you. Also, on the very same day of April 25th, it's Earth Day celebrated on the island. And because the community engagement group is very involved with the Leah Hill visit, my usual suspects for attending Earth Day are not as free to do so that day. I will take the lead on Earth Day. I'm working with Anne on what we want to present. I don't think we'll do the water sampling kits. I don't think we're ready for that. And we just have so much to follow up on with the pavilion and Coordinac Road that I think it behooves us to stick with that as our topic. We will focus on dunes and the importance of dunes, and that the pavilion is just one of the solutions. And anyway, we're right now thinking about how to cast that. And we've already covered the beach. So can anyone else be there with me that day? I know you're away. Okay.
And I'll be around too. Anne is taking Leah Hill around during the time of the Earth Day event.
Oh, okay. Oh, and maybe they can come and visit us.
Definitely.
Oh,
You're
yeah.
On the list of
So-
activities to do. It is. Maybe I'm not eating the mic like you say we're supposed to do. But it just reminded me of something which I immediately forgot. Oh yeah, we talked about bringing a laptop, and it just made me think of the comment that Nigel made a moment ago about helping people to understand the importance of the dunes. And there's a really nice video. I think it's an Irish video, but it looks like us. I wonder if we could just have that playing constantly, because it does answer the question of, I think the video is something like, the dunes protect us, let's protect them. And it's just a visual of a gentleman walking near the dunes, not through the dunes. Sorry, I don't want to say that. Near the dunes to explain their importance. It happens to be in Ireland, but it is a great educational little video. So maybe we'll set that up too.
Minutes, it's not that long.
No, it's not that long.
Oh, we could set that up like on a loop. Yeah, I like that idea a lot. Thank you.
I've got a video of the water pouring in through our gap in the beach house, if you want to add that.
Oh, yes, please.
No, what I really want to do. Ugh.
Oh, you.
Oh, and we just feel terrible for you about that. Looking at birds.
We're going, actually, our bigger plan is to get you to do the video. We can work on that when you're back with the tan.
There you go. Go ahead.
Mary, that's a good point, because I think that ultimately we need our own. Yeah. And I don't know who in our networks is kind of qualified to produce a video. But maybe we could work on finding someone who could do that.
Yeah. I did ask, first came across this video, I did ask somebody and he was really interested. I since then haven't been able to nail him down, but I'll ask him again. And Nigel could be the guy. He could be the actor. And I'll get the video guy. And I'll get
Nigel's our own David Attenborough.
I'm the oldest and therefore the most tech implausible guy in the room.
State your lines, read your lines.
Okay. All right, moving on. The next one is grant support for new grants. And I sent to all of you an email that summarized, and I know I copied you, Amanda, on this, that summarized all of the Rhode Island grant funding work opportunities from the workshop. I also have copies over here of the complete presentation where each page is a different funding opportunity. But also up here on the table is the email that I sent out that has all the links in it for, it was a really good workshop.
That's one of the clip on it, Sarah.
Yes, that's yeah.
Do you need more help with grant
Well, we need,
Writing.
what we need is someone in the town. I mean, all we, I mean, we stand at the ready, but we need a court into which to lob the ball. And so it's very important that we get somebody on board that can do budget formulation and budget execution with Amy.
Yeah.
I mean, we can do all the background stuff. We just can't do that. And so right now, for example, we have this Living Shorelines pre-proposal that we have submitted, and it was Amy Land, Lewis Land, that did the submission herself as the town representative. And so that needs to be delegated to someone.
Could that be part of the Orsted 50K?
Correct. That's
When-
exactly what it's
when
for.
Is that position?
Oh, it's
starting?
not, we don't, yeah, we don't know
Like
yet.
a
They're
month, 8
developing,
months?
no, less than 8 months, I would think. We'll see.
Okay, just asking. No
Yeah.
pressure.
Yeah. So, in addition to, let's see, grant, that's the main thing that I wanted to let you know about was this incredible amount of information that we were given. Next is town ordinance and planning, and I believe you have something, Sosha.
Yes. So the handouts were on the table, and there's only one that I really want to read to you. But the other one, I can just read the introduction, and I should first say what I'm talking about. My push has been for examining ordinances as a way of providing resiliency help to homeowners, because the town's budget covers public projects with public buildings, and homeowners do not qualify for any of that grant money. And I thought that if we looked at ordinances, that would be the least expensive, hopefully most effective way to help the private homeowners. So over time, I've interviewed Jen Brady as to what the regulations were for people who have properties in flood zones, spoke with Tom Rism. I looked at the community self-assessment regarding low impact development. I looked at the guide I've listed here. That spells out what the town's regulations are regarding construction in flood zones. And I looked at FEMA's handbook. So first I want to say that FEMA is really opposed to new construction in flood zones, but it doesn't prevent us from doing it. It just admonishes us, and we've had our hands slapped a few times. FEMA provides comprehensive guidelines. In a successful structure must be capable of resisting damage from coastal hazards and coastal processes over a period of decades. Now, the bluffs are included in their flood zone because of the proximity to the beaches and the risk of erosion, not because of the risk of flooding per se. Therefore, applications for construction near bluffs must submit a professional surveyor's proof of elevation. This way, somebody who lives on a bluff can say, I'm not at risk because my elevation is such that my property will not flood. Okay, so then I spelled out for you what FEMA's flood regulations are, and you can read those on your own. And then I looked at what our regulations are, and you can read those on your own. But the bottom line is that our regulations end up giving us a community rating system of 8 out of the range of scores is from 1 to 9, and 9 is the worst. So we're only one step above the worst level that you can be. And that's reflected by our ordinances for construction in flood sensitive zones. So I asked Jen Tom Rism if we have any relief ordinances for existing structures that perhaps need to move back or need to be raised. And the answer was no. you probably do know that the state has forced us to allow for free boarding, but we did not give them, we of course adopted that because we had no choice, but we did not provide compensatory height. And that's all that we have. So then I looked at what Nantucket did and what Vinyl Haven in Maine is doing, and they're doing a lot. And so if you please would, I really appreciate it if you would let me read my overall viewpoint on this. Because ultimately we have to decide if we want to ask the town council to approach the planning board to explore these kinds of ordinance changes. So this sounds a little bit didactic, but forgive me. Climate change and the resulting sea level rise is affecting coastal communities on a global level. Block Island is not an exception. Storms are becoming both more frequent and severe. Our people have witnessed large sections of road being washed away, parking lots flooded on a regular basis, and high tide water encroaching on private as well as public properties. As far back as 2013, the Block Island Harbor Sea Level Rise Study identified infrastructure at risk of damage due to rising sea levels. Our comprehensive plan of 2016 recognizes sea level rise as a major concern, as does the Hazard Mitigation Plan of 2025. Most recently, our focus has been on protecting Corneck Road using nature-based solutions. With grant monies received, the town has hired GCA, an engineering and consulting firm, to draw up plans for strengthening our dunes and protecting the pavilion parking lot. It is also exploring ways that the pavilion can be better positioned in order to protect the road even further. Overall, it can be safely said that Block Island's efforts have been focused on protecting public infrastructure. In the meantime, private property owners are not eligible for similar financial support. 238 structures are either located in or 200 feet from our flood zone. As our bluffs continue to erode and water levels rise, these homeowners are faced with three options: protect, retreat, or abandon their property. Since our island is small, we can retreat only so far before getting too close to another shoreline. Secondly, our protected open spaces are only further limit such retreat. Our comprehensive plan acknowledges these challenges and therefore encourages us to evaluate our current zoning and land use regulations as they relate to future impacts from the climate change and sea level rise. And then I list the item by number and label. As it stands, our zoning regulations do not provide relief in height and setback regulations in the flood zone for existing homes as well as for new construction. This limits people from moving their homes away from the shore as well as from raising the structure beyond what is already permitted. In our attempt to come up with a possible solution, the Coastal Resilience Committee examined zoning relief regulations adopted by two other islands, Nantucket, Massachusetts, and Vinyl Haven, Maine. Under Nantucket's miscellaneous regulation zoning bylaw, Article 4, homeowners in flood zones are provided the following relief regarding height limitations. And then that's spelled out. I won't read that. And then to mitigate, I should read, currently, this only applies to height and not to setbacks. In the cases of erosion, oftentimes property owners will elect to move their house if there is room on their property. Waivers from the setback require a variance from the Zoning Board of Appeals. So in essence, then Nantucket offers a variance as well as an ordinance, one for setback and the other for height. To mitigate the impacts of sea level rise in Vinyl Haven, the town is focusing on a combination of infrastructure improvement and long-term planning. Gabe McPhail, project support consultant of the town of Vinyl Haven, informed us that they are working on the creation of a new shoreline zone ordinance. It includes, but is not limited to, items such as relocating structures from the shoreline, phasing out development in vulnerable coastal areas, modifying setback standards for relocating structures, allowing for special exceptions for new construction or improvements, and allowing existing structures to be raised 3 feet. Even though Nantucket, Vinyl Haven, and Block Island share a common thread of sea level rise, each island has a unique natural environment, culture, history, and financial ability to pay for mitigation strategies. New construction in a flood zone is highly frowned upon by the CRMC and should not be encouraged. However, it is the opinion of the CRC, I hope, that relief ordinances for height and setback restrictions should be offered to those structures that already exist in the flood zone, not for new construction. We ask that the town council direct the planning board to explore the creation of such ordinances, which must provide relief for homes at risk, while at the same time show consideration and respect for neighbors' view shed. So if this makes it to the planning board, my first recommendation would be that this whole process require a special use permit.
That was my question.
Because
Yeah.
it's new territory
Yeah.
and we want to protect ourselves from unforeseen or unexpected consequences.
And what would that look like? You would have to construct what that special use permit,
Right. You have
checklist,
to have
if
a
you will.
checklist of its
Yeah,
own,
what it would look
right?
like.
So
Yeah.
that's where it stands. And I think what I'm asking you today is, can I forward, there's some typing errors in here. And there should be a closing sentence, something having to do with ordinances are less expensive than tax money, But do you, in principle, support this idea? Is what I want to know.
I'm sorry, who's the audience? Who are you writing this to?
The town council,
The letter to the
council.
town council.
Are you writing from us, from CRC?
from the
CRC,
committee,
From planning.
Yeah.
asking for them to consider height and setback relief.
For existing structures,
For
not for new construction.
I understand you might want to just back off a little and ask, would town council, would you ask planning to look into this? From our point of view, to ask planning.
Right, so it's,
Let planning decide.
Yes.
How do we do the
Forget it.
setbacks?
yeah,
How do we do-
yes, I spent, yes, most of my career writing letters to my boss, directing me to do what I thought was the most important thing to do. So that's kind of what we're doing. Yeah,
Okay.
yeah, except for, but now you're, from CRC to your hat in planning.
Yeah.
Yeah, but asking to be tasked with that, yeah.
Yeah.
I think that's a really good point.
Can you send me the phrase? You know me in phrasing. Go ahead.
So I think your point is really well taken, and I think it's super important that the town take a lead on this, because FEMA in the current state of affairs has been gutted. You have to pretend that they don't exist
Mhm.
any longer,
Mhm.
because they really don't.
Mhm.
So whatever advice they're giving is, you can use that maybe as a starting point, but there's no enforcement
Right.
any
Yeah,
longer.
no.
So it's very important that the town build in that into, they have to take care, the town has to take care of itself.
Correct.
And not be dependent on the bigger government.
Thank you.
Did you look at other Rhode Island coastal communities? Like,
No, just those two.
okay. Yeah, because I'd be curious what, Narragansett and other towns have as ordinances.
Obviously chose islands.
I know you chose them for a reason, yeah, but if there's precedent in the state, it might be of value.
Yeah, the other thing that this impacts is what Sosha brought up earlier, which is the community rating system. So we were a 9, and Allison worked hard to get us to an 8. And there are steps that we need to take if we want to lower our rating. And the reason why that's important is that it impacts insurance rates, especially for the town. And so it's very important, and that's why Allison, made the effort to engage with the community rating system in the first place.
Each class improvement, as you go from 9 to 8 to 7, produces a 5% greater discount for flood insurance premiums.
Yeah, to Sarah's point, I actually was thinking about this. So I'll send your document to Cal Lewis, who's the coastal person for DM. So he might have and he's the one that's in charge of all the coastal towns.
Can you email me that
Yes.
suggestion?
Yeah,
please?
and I'll
With the
just, how about I'll
contact?
just send it to you. I'll just send it to him and I'll CC you.
Oh, okay.
So I'll just do that tomorrow.
Thanks.
Great idea. Yeah. He's one of the 4 new resilience officers that work for Kim Correa, the resilience chief for Rhode Island.
Okay.
And so there's one of them's called Coastal. We need to get him out here. We need to get him for a visit. Okay. We have 15 minutes left. I'm going to power through the rest of the agenda. Oh, yes. I think, does anyone not want Sosha to put something together for the town council recommending that they punt to planning this as an action item? I think that's great. Okay. And then what we'll do is, when you get that, we'll vote on the letter. Is that okay with you? On the letter? Yes, yeah. Okay. I do want to say something about water and wells. We had the visit by 3 folks from the Coastal Institute. They drove by the sewage plant because it was so iced over that nobody was able to get out of their cars. But we did get into the water company, and shortly thereafter, an opportunity presented itself. And so the 3 folks who came over, Nate Vinatiero, Tom Boving, and Chris Rusiniello, have submitted a pre-proposal titled Characterizing Groundwater Resources of Block Island, Rhode Island, Hydraulic Properties and Salinization Dynamics. And so this is, copies are up here. And if you want an electronic copy, just let me know. I probably have sent it to you, but I'm happy to send it again. But anyway, I just wanted you to know that was happening, really a good outcome from that visit. And we're just writing letters of support, and I'm, driving them around and, being charming. The next item is CRMC and the Conservation Commission. And Amanda's here. We have a joint meeting with the Conservation Commission on April 23rd. Is that at 3 p.m.? You want to come up and say a few words, ma'am?
Hi, everybody. We are planning the joint meeting for the 23rd at 3, and I will have an agenda after our meeting today for you to see if you have anything you want to add, but mostly follow up because when we tried to do joint meeting last time, we ran out of time. We all like to talk too much.
We started a half hour early and I forgot we had to end a half hour. Anyway. Okay.
Couple things on the CRMC. Sorry,
George?
2 things are happening. One is the bluff protection, or the erosion mitigation project north of Scotch Beach has applied for maintenance, made a maintenance application to the CRMC. This just happened last week. I do not know what it entails. I will ask and find out, what it does. They've applied for maintenance. So we'll find out. I'll report next time. Also, and this is very good news, the legislation that was submitted a couple of years ago, or a year and a half, to reform the CRMC that never went anywhere, has come back in a new form. And the new form is talking about putting the CRMC into the DEM, which has answered, or seems to have answered, the question that held it up before, which was the cost of making a separate and new agency, if I understand correctly. So this is new. This just came out. It was introduced, the 13th of March, the Senate bill and the House bill. I learned about this from Echo RI that put the article out. So I can forward that if you haven't seen that, or send it to Judy or Ann and she.
I believe I sent it out to the
Maybe you sent
board.
it out.
I sent it
You
out
sent it.
already. Yes.
Actually
I sent it to the whole
out.
committee. Yes.
Okay, so you're very familiar with that.
Yeah.
So that's good news. So those are the two things.
Thanks. And that's what,
I'll follow up on both and provide.
I
updates.
really appreciate that. Yeah, and that's what pinged my conversations with the town council about, can they please follow up on their letter?
Can I ask a
Yes.
question? So I heard about this on the radio on a news program, and tell me if I heard this correctly. At one point, CRMC was a voluntary group. Is that correct?
The CRMC board is an appointed board.
Politically appointed
It's
board.
politically appointed, yes.
I don't know what they get for compensation, if any. There may be no direct compensation.
Big. So.
I'm not
so
touching that.
How does that change their status by joining DEM?
Because now they're an advisory to the DEM director and the DEM staff, as opposed to the other way around. Let's see if I can read it correctly. CRMC's director would become a deputy director within the DEM, and the politically appointed board that oversees the coastal agency would be transformed into an advisory body with little decision-making power. That's
the
key.
crux of the biscuit right there. Thank you. Thank you, George. Let's see, powering through. I already mentioned the living shoreline proposal. Anything on GIS? Nothing new. I put the GIS, New Shoreham GIS site in your agenda so that you can go to it.
There actually is some, well, basically just that I'm still working on the kind of tutorial on how to work on it, but it's been put on the back burner a little bit because
Okay.
of recent busyness, but yes. Yeah, exactly.
Yes, we do. Okay. I've got no report from the ferry, and I already told you about the letter of intent for it's the Rhode Island Water Resources Board that this groundwater study went to. Okay, that is the end of our official agenda. We have 5 or 6 minutes left to cover anything that we didn't cover. And Sarah.
Just curious, what's the ferry line item?
So we've had different activities related to the ferry in the past. For example, I'm the point of contact with the ferry, and so I've attended Galilee planning sessions to provide a Block Island voice in the Galilee planning stuff like so. And Billy McComb is our ferry point of contact. And I probably talk to him like once a month, once every 2 months about what's going on. And yeah, I'm just a point of contact. That's why I don't have any report. Yes, because all my conversations with Billy have been around CRMC. Anything else, you guys? Oh, yeah, go ahead.
Do you think it's worth, I have no idea whether this is a stupid idea, but do you think interstate navigation might be a potential grant funder of any of our initiatives?
Yeah, I think the best way to work with them is to ask them to do stuff that helps them, that helps us. So it's working with them on, raising the wall at the ferry on Galilee. They're most vulnerable in Galilee, more than here, because the whole ferry circumstance here is higher, just physically higher. But the dock in Galilee actually floods. And there was the December 23 or 22 storm, I can't remember which one, but the dock was literally underwater, which is the most dangerous situation for the ferry, because if it comes up and rides over and damages the dock, we're SOL on the ferry dock on that side. And so That's why in a lot of storms, they pull the ferries away from the dock. But in that case, the flooding was so extreme, way higher than we were all out taking pictures. It was crazy high. The DEM, that big step in front of DEM, that was underwater. That's how high it was. Yeah. So, Dory got a photograph of it that I keep using. But we're working with them. But if any ideas that you have, I welcome. Yeah.
Sarah, I think the most we could hope for right now is that maybe finding a willingness with the company to perhaps disseminate some of the information that we have, either on the screens there or poster wise there on the boat.
Yeah. I am going, because the Conservation Commission starts in about 3 minutes, I am going to ask for a motion to adjourn. Okay, second? Okay, thank you so much. Our next meeting is May 5th. Oh, all in favor? Aye. Any disposed? Okay, and let's get our butts out of here for the Conservation Commission. Thanks, you guys. Also, so I'm putting hopefully we're not still on, but anyway, I'm tomorrow, Nora and I are attending the Sheldon White House event, and I'm on a panel, and I have to answer the question, what have been the benefits of offshore wind power to Block Island residents? So if you have a thought on that, please email me or text me. And the other one, that question is, what is the one thing you advise for future offshore wind development processes? Yeah, the development process, which I already know what I would say, which is community engagement. But what do you see as the benefits of offshore wind power? I mean, my bill went down and we got internet. I mean, those are two huge things that I can point to right away.
I think it's improved fishing.
Oh, that improved fishing. Actually, Dave Monty. Well, that was from, I'm sitting on a panel tomorrow at the Sheldon White House. Came from them. Okay.